They've grown up in wars and armed conflicts, and now the young people of Afghanistan face an unknown future and an almost total lack of opportunity. Just what could bring hope to the young generation of Afghanistan? This is Inside Story. Hello, I'm Nick Clark and welcome to this second special edition of Inside Story from Kabul here in Afghanistan. You know, almost 3/4 of Afghanistan's population is under the age of 25. They lack education and they lack job opportunities. The situation is even more troubling for the young women of Afghanistan. So how to get out of this plight? Bethan Howe has more.
42% of the population of Afghanistan is under 14 years old. Shows like Top 10 target the new generation, often playing Western music and mimicking its fashions. 22-year-old presenter Mustafa Azizyar is one of the young people taking advantage of the country's newfound freedom of expression.
I'm young. I want to provide programs to our people according to the culture of our country. The programs that I have worked with in the past were too new for the people, but now they are becoming accustomed to these programs.
Under Taliban rule, until just 7 years ago, television sets were banned in this country. Now there are hundreds of channels for Afghans to choose from. Talo TV is the most watched channel in Afghanistan. It's drawn criticism for showing programmes based on Western formats. For those watching, it's basic escapism, as it's a far cry from the day-to-day lives most Afghan youths experience. Unemployment is high in Afghanistan. The official estimate is 40%, but it's far higher in the provinces where there are few projects. Many young people make the long and often arduous journey to Kabul in the hope of finding work. But competition is fierce.
I came here from morning and I wait till late afternoon, but I cannot find a job here. I want the government to provide job for young people.
Such jobs are scarce, especially for the less educated. There are claims government recruitment is corrupt, based on contacts and bribery. Those lucky enough to work for the government can look forward to earning just $50 to $150 a month. Students in Kabul rush to learn English, hoping it will lead to greater employability. Such young people don't see their own futures as bleak, but they're unhappy with how their country has fared since the Americans arrived.
Right now it's very difficult because everyone is just caring about themselves, but no one is caring about the poor people in Afghanistan. We hope they will understand they must help the poor people.
The new US president may have plans to inject $1 billion into non-military aid and support for Afghanistan. But with so many problems to solve in his own nation, it may be left up to the next Afghan generation to rebuild their own country. Bethan Howe for Inside Story in Kabul, Afghanistan.
Well, to take this issue on, let me introduce you to my guests here in Kabul. First of all, Fatima Husseini, who's a Gender Coordination Officer with Counterpart Project, which works on, amongst other things, gender equality issues. Masood Sanjia, who's a journalist and Tolol TV production manager, a local TV station. He was also a presenter who worked for the Voice of Sharit, which was the only radio station during the Taliban regime. And finally, Samir Jahoon, who is a translator who works with the British forces. Right. Welcome all.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to talk about a lot of things, education, security and poverty, but first let's talk about freedom of expression. Fatima, we saw in that film some quite liberal TV shows. Does that demonstrate that at least some things have improved in this country?
I wasn't here before in Afghanistan, but since I came to Afghanistan, especially the experience that the people had during the Taliban and also the war, that was many years of war in Afghanistan, it is a bit, complicated for the people to accept it, that, it make more challenges for the people, especially for the women in Afghanistan, because anytime when you're talking about women education or about their freedom, they were thinking that, this freedom that shows by media or by TV, it's the freedom means that, so that's why it make more difficult for women's freedom inside Afghanistan, and it will help, it will make the improvement, more slowly.
So you're 25 years old now.
Yeah.
If you had lived in the Taliban era, as a 25-year-old young woman, what would life have been like?
I can't imagine that because I was, during the Taliban regime, I was only here in Bamiyan for 2 years, not more than that. And we didn't have that much difficulties with Bamiyan, during them in Bamiyan because the Bamiyan was not controlling at their place. But when I came to Kabul, I saw it was very difficult. Even you cannot breathe, you know, as a human being. I could, you know, the feeling that I got on that time that it was that they don't recognize women as a human being with themselves. So the women were an extra things for them and they just want to use it for their work.
Okay, now Masood, you broadcasted during the Taliban time.
Yes.
You're a broadcaster now.
Yes.
How different is it?
So I cannot compare it because how hard it was during the Taliban and how free I am now when I'm comparing to that time. Everything was very controlled, so you had to be very cautious or you would go to jail. A single mistake could put you in jail. But now I'm free.
So you were working for the Taliban?
I was working for the Radio Shariat, which was the government-controlled radio and the only radio station in Afghanistan, operating in Afghanistan. And I was the English newsreader. I saw a producer and presenter. I had to translate the text they were giving us and I had to present it.
So it's fair to say that this is a situation here in Kabul, but it's a different story out in rural areas, isn't it?
Under Taliban regime.
No, now.
No, now, yeah, it's really different. I mean, kind of countryside, but inside the Kabul, it is really different. But now it is like Mr. Masood said about his media, that indeed, whenever the people has different kinds of problem, they can truly call to the medias and they're confirming the people who are authorized with that, who are in charge for the security or these staffs are. And then really changed.
Life is very, very different in Kabul and even 20 kilometers out of Kabul.
Yeah.
You can see poor people, you can see how the young people are in Kabul, how they are in the rural areas. For example, the youth who are in Afghanistan, in Kabul, they have at least job opportunities, they can go to school. There are security problems, but at least they can go to school. But out of Kabul, let's see.
Which is the majority of Afghanistan.
Yes. Wardak province, schools are closed. Ghazni, large percent of the youth cannot go to the schools.
And I will give you an example about the security reason, because Mr. Masood said it like that in Wardak. Back in Logar, that's the province. My uncle works with the Ministry of Education, so he has got some land back in Logar. So whenever he's going to asking about his land, his houses, the Taliban stopped him and asked him that if you're working with the Karzai government, if you're working with the Karzai government, so you're not allowed to come back in Logar. So leave your office and come back there. Just try to do like
I think
resign.
one of the main issues that makes these troubles in the rural area is that their life is more traditional. Most of the people who are not educated are living on that area. So the other issue, when the Taliban is coming in that area, they start their activities by the name of Islam. So that's why the Taliban is more, active in that area. That they have the support of the people because the people are thinking that they are just defending Islam and just working and fighting for Islam. So that's why they support him. So the only thing that the problem and what is going inside the Kabul is so different with other parts of Afghanistan. And when they want to talk about their objectives and what they want, they compare Kabul situation with other areas and then compare it with the Islamic rules and these kind of things. And it makes more people.
Much of the stuff is not about Islam. Much of the stuff is about the traditions that are in the rural areas.
Absolutely, but the other thing as well, of course, is for many young people, the only opportunity to work and perhaps earn money is to work for the Taliban, i.e. to fight for the Taliban against the foreign forces. Why is that, and what did the Taliban give them?
Rumors are different. People say the Taliban gets money from Pakistan, from Iran, and from other countries, and they give people money, and so lots of major percent of the people are jobless, and you have to feed your family, so you have to work and you have to do something for the family. So that might be one of the reasons that Taliban are getting more and more troops now.
Now, you guys were lucky enough to get a reasonable education, but for most of the country that is not possible. And bear in mind that, what did we say, 70% of Afghanistan's population is under the age of 25. So why is it so difficult for these people to get education?
So that is the main problem that Mr. Sanger said about. That's the economical problem. So our economy is too down. That if you will have the money, for example, whenever under the age of 20, the people who are graduating from the schools are, so they need to go the courses, they need to get the Concord preparations to go to the higher educations, but they does not have that much money to go there. So after that, that is just clear for everybody that they will do whatever they want. They will look for the Taliban, they will work for the enemy.
Security is the main reason where now people cannot go. For example, during the Taliban there was at least security, people could go to school, but the schools, I was going to university during the Taliban. I was studying architecture, and it was actually very hard for me to be an architect or a mullah, because we were studying like 4 subjects regarding engineering and architecture, and there were 5 Islamic subjects.
But I think, one of the main issues that the people cannot go to school is the opportunity that they have. There's no school in the rural area, so they don't have any educated people to teach them, to train them. And then the other issue, the economic problems, then we can see, because when the family, we had a program in Bamiyan, some project in Bamiyan, and we just asked them that you shouldn't send your children for carpet weaving, and you should send them just for study. And they said, okay, we will do what you ask for us. So but what is the alternative for that? That's the children is working there, they're earning some money for us, but if we send our children there, who will support us? So it was the other issue. But the other, for example, the experience that I had in Bamiyan during the Taliban regime, one of the issue was this, that before the Taliban, before the Mujahideen war, they sent their children for education, but during the Russian regime, all of them has been killed. But the other things, for example, my grandmother, when my uncle has been killed, she never allowed the other's son to go to school, because she said, if I send you to school to study, they will come and bring you and kill you. So it's better for me that you shouldn't be uneducated and just work here beside me on my land.
Okay, I'm just going to interrupt you there, because we're going to take a break shortly. But Jens, I'd just like to ask you last of all, what is your hope for Afghanistan, the way things are right now?
I was actually very optimistic in the beginning, but now I actually lost my hope. The way that the things are going now, the way security is destroyed, the way you can't see a proper future. So I don't see.
We always come back to the security issue. Samir, just finally from you, just very briefly.
Yeah, because I'm also worrying all the time about the security, all the time bombing, all the time robbing, all the time kidnapping the people. Nowadays, for the time of being, if you see that security is not good in Afghanistan, nobody likes that. Nobody can do their business inside Afghanistan.
All right.
Nobody's happy with the situation that we have right now.
All right, Samir and Masood, thanks very much indeed for your time. We're going to bring in a couple of other guests in a minute. Fatima, if you stay with us for the time being, thanks very much indeed. We're going to take a short break right now. We'll be right back.